to do our solution or project for evaluating the biological composition across local ocean zones. So we wanted to look at the biological carbon pump and okay, so so in the last 35 years, there's been a 60% increase in CO2 emissions, and the ocean absorbs around 1/3 of that, and which affects the biological carbon pump. In the recent years, there has been a lot of people looking at the ocean as a key solution to, so it would be a storage for carbon. And so a lot of people have been looking at OCPR technologies and blue carbon approaches, which could help in storing more carbon.
Right. So why is this important? The biological pump is just the process of the ocean carrying CO2 to the bottom floor and storing it or producing or managing it there. So this graph shows us the ocean sink compared to the human CO2 emissions per year. And we can see the gap is really widening. As of now, the ocean is absorbing about 26%. And in the past, it used to be 30. We can see this gap is only going to get larger. So our solution really entails on how we can enlarge the ocean sink. How are we going to do that? We're going to take a combination of satellites and physical data and then use basically geospatial analysis and machine learning to make a predictive model and a sort of heat map that shows us the most efficient spots of the geological pump in the around the world. Oh, excuse me. This is sort of the what we had in mind. We haven't been able to produce that heat map yet, so this is an example. But I think we think it would really aid scientists around the world if they could see the most efficient spots and where they could improve this efficiency.
Yes, so what do we want to do? We want to identify hotspots where carbon efficiency is most effective and where it's not really doing so good and where it's at risk. And we want to develop some predictive tools for monitoring the ocean's health so we can make machine learning models or AI models that can predict how it's going to do in the future. And we want to provide insights for governments and organizations so they can maximize the ocean potential to absorb CO2. And in the progress, we can raise awareness for how this system works and what we can do to the ocean to help with more carbon sinking. Yes, so this is just for summary. So what we want to do is mapping the ocean's carbon pump and taking a step toward climate action. Yes, so that's our project.
about you guys, the team? Like, what is your background and or why are you passionate about this idea? It's a cool idea.
Yeah. So we are all software engineering students in the University of Iceland, and we were just looking at the carbon cycle and how we can use the biological pump, and we were looking at some scholarly articles that were going over how scientists have been looking at the biological pump in relation to the climate crisis over the years.
Yeah. We were really introduced to this idea directly through Hildur. She was working with a company last summer that analyzed marine snow, was it?
Yes, the sinking speed of marine snow, which is a critical part of the biological carbon pump. There are many processes that is involved in the biological carbon pump, and marine snow plays a huge part in the cycles.
If I may ask, what data are you using from the data sets, for example, to detect this?
So, yeah, we have accidentally skipped over. So, there's a lot of data directly from Copernicus satellites that we can use, since there's really a number of factors that influences biological pumps, whether it's wind speed, for instance, and water density and water temperature at different levels. All of that we can find with Copernicus satellites. We can also find chlorophyll A concentrations using their data.
And phytoplankton and the streams and stuff like that from Copernicus.
So really, most of our data would come from that, but we would also, I believe, need some insight managements like bioptical sensors and high-quality cameras to monitor the sediment forming.
No questions from me. Good work. Really good work.
Sorry, can I ask? Are only the judges allowed to ask questions, or can everybody else ask too?
If there are no questions, you can ask as well. Otherwise, you can ask the teams after the presentations.
Okay. Maybe not after they leave.
The next team, culture. Where is culture? And just as a reminder for the teams, we have 5 minutes. After 4.5 minutes, we will raise our hands to indicate that there are 30 seconds left. Good luck.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Culture. And let me take you to a journey to the ocean, where we have a huge untapped potential of kelp farming. But why kelp farming? This is to help solve climate change. In a way, we have inefficient ocean farming practices all across the world. This is along marine pollution, ocean acidification, and this is along impacting the island nations, specifically in Iceland, where it's economic dependent on the context. And this is how Culture is created. where it optimizes kelp and other breeds or plants farming sites, and this is to help have high impact carbon capturing mechanism. And in the longer term, we would have AI-empowered forecasting of environmental and variable changes. And this is how it works, as simple as it sounds. Identifying seaweed breed to grow or other plants in specific, gathering customized variable growth variables, where would be acquired from Copernicus library, and then we would train our AI based on this data. And after so, we would predict the optimal conditions that within a specific time frame in order to all have the optimal sites for kelp farming or any other breed. And this can be customized per plant. And on the long term, we would monitor and evaluate variable changes over the time. We would learn from the feedback, and after implementing the farming, we would update our algorithm in order to acquire real-world results. And then we would assess the environmental impact of seaweed farming, so that we make sure that the farming itself, how does it impact and change the environment in the ocean. And as a case study, we started with the Icelandic kelp in specific, and we took the most important valuables that we should take into consideration when seeing the site selection. For example, the exclusive economic zones, seawater pH, seawater velocity, and much more. And we then took the threshold for each variable that corresponds to the Icelandic kelp. And as a result, we would have this map where we can see the optimal site selection from dark to lighter. The lighter would be the most optimal zones, and this is more specifically to Icelandic kelp. As such, we can see that towards the north and the south of the globe, we would see this is the most optimal site, because that's where the Icelandic kelp can grow better and more efficient in low temperatures and having high level of nutrients. What sets us apart is basically we're the first to the market, and as data providers, we would give access to ocean farmers for this data, as it's really hard to access it online, and we would maximize the efficiency and farming success rates accordingly. Our impact goes beyond having ocean impact. It goes to also impacting on the land, in which having food products from the kelp or seaweed, and having biodegradable material and nutrients, and also increasing and creating job opportunities within such a sector for coastal communities and regions. And of course, combating the climate change, as this can also help reduce the risk of coastal erosion and rising sea levels. Our customer segment varies from aquaculture farming companies and farmers to government and coastal or ocean planning agencies and policy agencies, and also, of course, the research institutions and universities to advance this method further. And as such, we would base our business model on both subscription model for real-time data and monitoring, and we would also include consultancy services for selection and impact assessment at the same time. And this is to conclude in a bit how our market size is being distributed locally, regionally, and globally, from $7.5 million to $500 million on the global level. Our plan is to continue with our in-depth research, as we would definitely need more research about the variables we're taking into consideration and much more. And this is to include projection of impact on the longer term, having an Icelandic pilot launch of site selection. Is it over? Yeah. And taking input from the user and feedback. And of course, at the end, expanding to other ocean site selection and other plant types, not specifically to kelp. Our team behind this is our amazing team, which is very diverse, and we're all focused on islands and sustainability at the University of Groningen and Iceland here. We range from geography, architecture, development, and glaciology. And we're also focusing, and we would love to have more people on board, from data scientists to marine biology and environmental impact specialists. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Questions? Yeah, it was a really nice presentation. big fan of kelp farming, so I would love to see something like this for the future in Iceland. Two things. So you talk about kelp for food or for carbon capture. Do you have like a primary focus there, or is one more your focus than the other for farming or for?
Yeah, well, basically this data is mostly to help farmers to know where they should locate the farm, like accordingly. So it depends on what they're doing in terms of collaboration. And I feel like the main approach is carbon capture, because we want to maybe add upon that.
Yeah, it eventually depends on like our customers, if it's farmers or actually governments. If they're like, what's their goal? We're gonna help them locate the optimal locations, and it depends also if like they're looking for carbon capture or like for farming, because we provide them all the information that they need from the nutrients available and like in the water, and like our data is very customized for each customer based on like their requirements. Yeah, our job is to provide them with the data and the optimal site location based on their needs.
Yeah. And it'd be a nice collaboration between you guys and the other team.
One question for me: when you're calculating the market size, how did you do that? What was the price you used there?
It was based on the hectares covered, so that was we literally priced it at 10 pence per hectare, so it's the lowest price in the market.
Okay. Thank you.
I have one last quick question. If you give out basically this map as a subscription model, how do you expect that these areas that you select change over time? Do they change like slow or like in the years in order for you to continue to provide services?
We expect them to take, like, we still haven't made analysis yet, but like we expect it to take like between 1 to 5 years for the data to change. But we're gonna use the data also provided by the farmers to update our database and like to see if our data is actually very accurate or not, and like we're gonna update that as well as we go, as we generate data from like the Copernicus library and also from the farmers, because like having data available is something and having real world results is something else. So we're just gonna like use those and to update our prediction model.
Thank you.
Just one last comment. I really love the presentation. Just all your customers you mentioned are land-based microalgae producers. So it would be good to have kelp ones on there as well, which I know is maybe limited in Iceland, but apart from that, that's great.
Thank you so much.
Good work.
The next team is the team from Smartfish.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ramnar, and I will present to you our idea. Ja, de neem. Yeah. I will begin with the challenge. Here is a map of Iceland and some examples of ship routes. And as you can see, these are very long distances that they travel. So it's a lot of waste of energy resources. And that's done to find capelin. And on their way, they may not find any capelin. the challenges we are addressing are to decrease the fuel consumption and also the cost, because fuel costs money, and that will be good for the fishery. Also, the migration patterns are unpredictable. It's hard to locate the capelin, so we want to address that. And this is the solution. We have a buoy, that is the buoy, and in Iceland, Icelandic buoy. It has a fish sonar that is below the surface, and it scans the area and detects whether there's a fish stocks nearby. And it has a GPS module, and so it can locate where the fish is at any given time and send signal to the cloud so the fishers know where to head. And we used the Copernicus data to find out some information, and the depth zones, temperature range, because the loðnan lives in tight temperature range. So we used that and the historical fish catch and some more. Okay, the revenue stream, the product is subscription based. So we sell the fisheries data, and what they gain is information, the location of the fish capelin stock. So they know where to head, and they save time and money. So it's a huge saving of cost and time. And it is sustainable because it has a solar panel on the top. So that is the energy they use. And this is the team. We are studying at Reykjavik University. We are studying innovation, and this is the hackathon is part of that course. So, yeah, valuable experience, I would say. And we also have an artist among us. So here's a buoy, and we have a rope that goes down below, and attached to the rope are two sonars at a different deep level. And in that range is where the capelin lives. We have the solar panel on top. We have GPS inside the buoy, and then it sends to the cloud at the top of the left corner. And here's another picture. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I can start.
Yep.
Nice presentation. It sounds like a really interesting idea. A lot of competition here, I think, going on.
It was somewhat of, we were inspired by Greenfish, so it's somewhat, addition to Greenfish in some way.
So, how many buoys would you plan to put out, kind of, and what would be the cost per buoy, for example, or kind of, because
it's a buoy network, so it would have to be maybe 2 kilometers between buoys, and it has to span some area, but it can trap the fish inside this area, if I can say so, because it, yeah, because Kjartan, þú voru hjá.
Okay, so using Copernicus data, we can actually see, we know because this fish is very temperature sensitive, so we know where they're not gonna go actually. So if you can detect them, if you like thinking like maybe 50 buoys, then we have a line and we can detect them going into an area. We know they cannot escape because it's going to be colder waters on one place, maybe warmer there. So that gives us an idea or at least we know approximately where it's going to be. And if you put another line maybe east of Iceland, then we know if it has not, we can be fairly sure if it's still in the area. So that's the idea.
Okay.
Any more questions?
Yeah, I had the same question with the range, and also it's a great idea actually, because it's for cabling. It's probably only going to be for that because of the range. You have to reconstruct the whole thing for maybe mackerel, something like that.
Yeah, no, other applications. I mean, like pollution, you can put a lot of sensors in this, but we want a minimum viable product to start with.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things we can go ahead and implement.
I agree. I agree with that.
It is more questions, but I can see there's a burning question over there, so I'll keep mine quick. But what kind of sonar are you thinking of, and is it a sonar that won't disrupt natural fish behavior?
Well, it is a sonar, so it's going to be some disturbance, right? So the one we're looking at is like a 300 watts. It has like a 1,000 meter range, and yes, there's probably going to be some disturbance, but yeah. Probably working.
Do you want to maybe go to the burning question, if I can see a hand up?
It's just because I don't want to be forgotten. You can finish.
No, that was I think that it's a interesting question, just in terms of also the whale population, which is in similar areas, and sonar, and which is not necessarily to say it's not. I think it's a very interesting idea. I agree. I think it adds.
But I think like a line, so it's not going to be like a grid. So it's going to be a line.
But it'll be to depth.
Yeah. So they go through. So I mean, it's not like we're going to be disturbing all ocean life. It's going to be a narrow space. Yeah, I was also thinking it was going to be a great visit. So now I'm a little more confused. Actually, it's going to be in lines from the island. But if you think about it, like the temperature of the ocean actually traps this fish. It doesn't go to north. It doesn't. So it's like a corridor. Yeah. So we can use the Copernicus data to see where it's going to be. So if we put a line just through and we can see the fish going in, then we know it's going to be in that area, right? Yeah. Okay. So then we don't need to have like buoys in all the area. But my question was about, which was actually thinking about this is not great, but still, because it's going to be close together. And I'm not sure exactly how wide the nets are when they are fishing for this, But if you are intending to put this with a 2-kilometer range between them, that means it's going to be a lot of buoys. Have you thought about this potentially being disruptive for the fishing boats that are putting a net there? Because the buoy needs an anchor at the bottom. Yeah, but it's going to be like 2 kilometers, and like I said, it's just a line, and they know where it is. It's not going to be a problem. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think it's a good combo to do.
Yeah, I mean, but
Yes, 2 kilometers. Yeah.
Next is the team from Ocean Guardian.
like 3.5 kilometer space.
Yes, looking for.
And also, but it's definitely something that in the future, if you have better sonars, you can have the range at 100%. It's only viable. But uploading data with Starlink, with solar panels, is very far-fetched.
Because of the salt also encrusting where it is.
Too late if we don't. We do that.
We are Ocean Guardian, a company providing AI-driven business intelligence customized for blue economy clients. We bring bespoke environmental monitoring to your company or organization at the scale you need when you need it. What if you're from an aquaculture farm that just lost your whole fish stock overnight because of a sudden drop in the water temperature? Or if you are facing jail time because of your fish escaped from the pen but you got caught? In a world where data is abundant, blue economy industries have not yet reached their full potential. Companies lose efficiency and productivity because their operations lack the ability to access, use, and act upon the data that they need. They lack real-time monitoring, they face siloed data, they face gaps in their data, or they lack the data altogether, and they often operate from reactive versus predictive management. But what if there were a solution where companies can access the data they need, right-sized for their business and location when they need it, and they could improve efficiency and avoid or prevent catastrophic loss? Ocean Guardian is that solution. We use Copernicus and other open source data combined with next-gen hybrid neurosymbolic and artificial neural network AI models trained on customer-specific data to develop and deliver simulations that put better decision-making in the hands of company leaders when they need it. Our team of expert consultants uses evidence-based practices to assist, develop, and fine-tune the models to customers' needs. We are a one-stop shop for better blue economy management. So in this challenge, we examined one specific use case for our product, which is marine aquaculture, and the challenges that this addresses: sustainable fishing practices and the associated marine biodiversity loss. We see a tremendous market opportunity in the blue economy. The UN estimates currently a $2.3 trillion market of goods and services each year in the blue economy. Within this, the aquaculture market is expected to double by 2050. But marine aquaculture, as we mentioned, has a problem, and one of the challenges the industry faces is the loss of fish that escape the pens and that contaminate both the local and ecosystems, bringing diseases, faulty genetics, and strain to those ecosystems. Fish escape is an economic loss, but also a biodiversity loss of native species, as we see here in Iceland. But we see this as a market opportunity in this use case. About $33 million were lost from fish farmers in Norway alone in the past 10 years.
But we know what happened. It's not just a simple cause. We have studies and historical data shows that 76% of all escape are caused by preventable faults in pens or in cages, mostly due to lack of timely maintenance or tear and wear in the cages. This has consequences, as was mentioned, genetic contamination of the local stock and loss of incomes for areas, local areas and private enterprises. How to prevent it? Well, because it is preventable, we can actually look at whatever happens in the local area and what is happening around the fjord or the local place. We need to monitor what is happening, and we need to have a maintenance schedule of what and prevent whatever is going to happen. By combining those two and having a monitoring system, we reduce the loss risk. In other words, in Norway, 60% of salmon breaches happens because of wear and tear on nets due to bad extreme weather pattern. So what we managed to do is produce Ocean IQ. It's an aquaculture solution, and it is a simulation that allows companies or any kind of organization to use to manage risk. Here you can see a quick demo to see what we can do. It uses many. It uses plenty of data from Copernicus, the SST, the sea surface temperature, and the wind patterns and things around that. We also use the local data from the fjords and things so that we can create a model solution where we input the data, we use a neural processing that creates all of that, and using semiotic company. Sorry, I should have learned this word, semiotic neural system that allows an AI model to relearn by itself and not just like an ANN who actually need to train the model. You produce all of that and you get a simulation of what is happening there. So we have a revenue model as everybody else over here. It's a SaaS, it's a subscription model that allows you to monitor. It's bespoke, it's feature related, you can generate, and it can adapt itself to whatever we have. And we just about to quickly go there. We have a team that is quite amazing. We have someone who is in computer science and in innovation. We have Ashish in astrophysics, Alex in philosophy and in amazing operation. Carol, who I forgot, sorry, and myself who is not fintech. Yes, sorry, a fintech inspector, and myself who is a data analyst and ex-tourist in tourism. Thank you.
Should I start on this end? Lovely presentation. I guess I have a general question, because I think there's a lot of data there, and like you say, marine aquaculture or sea cage aquaculture is a huge market. There's a lot of challenges around it. When you first introduced yourself, you talked about kind of being as a data consultants and data experts. I'm just wondering if actually maybe because aquaculture is such a large field, would that be the one, or why not specialize in that, I guess would be my question.
I think that's our idea, is we would start there as a proof of concept. So we would start there to prove this model and to show that our approach, especially with the next gen AI, works. As a real innovator in the field, we have the consultancy that no one else has, but we would use that first case example to build this out. But we would emphasize that we see impact across the blue economy. So I think what's unique is that
the key element is the fact that we connect elements of the industries that are not necessarily, or the blue economy, they're not connected with that have issues with either accessing the knowledge, the know-how, because at the end of the day, connecting to Copernicus and downloading the data, have understanding how to build it, this is a job in itself. When you're running a fish farming industry, when you are on a boat, this is another type of job that not necessarily connect with each other. So you're providing a service to those.
So we would start there in this industry, but we see this as a really big launch of a big company that could work across other sectors and really just collect and gather that expertise as we go, gather that momentum as we go.
That's it. Very nice, sir.
Thanks for the question.
Great presentation. I think this is something that is in high demand here in Iceland right now. With the data you use, would you connect it to the sensors? Because you stopped. How would you do that?
Yeah, so that's what this model essentially would do is, we would use Copernicus data, but Copernicus data doesn't work for everyone, especially in every fjord, especially with this particular client base. So we need to extrapolate from data we do have to be able to actually tap into the bigger data sets. This is our philosophy. So we would use sensors, for example, from the local fish farms or from maybe partnerships we develop with some of the robotics companies that are monitoring in the Nordics, robotics companies monitoring for fish net damage. We would endeavor to work out a partnership with them where we would partner with them for their data and find a value for them to be part of our consortium and use that data to train the AI model to really bridge that gap. And that's why we say it's like the data is there, but is it accessible? So really we solve that problem of that data gap for Iceland geographically or small users.
Because Copernicus has a resolution of like 0.083 degrees by 0.083 So one pixel only will have like, won't have every information, right? So by combining it with other fonts.
Yeah.
Then there's another aspect of the tempo of data. Is it how live do you need to be? Because if there's a storm coming, you need to know that it is coming, but you don't need to know at the very seconds.
Yeah.
Because maybe you can have a 15-minute delay or something like that. So you need to be. The infrastructure itself doesn't need to be absolutely live.
That's why we say bespoke solution when you need it. So
Yeah.
it's like that just-in-time data.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Otto was not going to let you ask that question.
With the hard one.
Next is the team from Blue Wave Intelligence.
Thank you. You want me to put a timer? Good afternoon. My name is Styrmir, and alongside me is my colleague Ion. Then we have Ivy and Martin over there. Together we are Blue Wave Intelligence. And the problem that we are facing is regarding to, yes, fish farming. We're specifically focused at the moment for Iceland. So the fish farming is currently done in the fjords with some restrictive access, of course, to certain fjords areas. And there are several risks to this. There is, of course, overcrowding, diseases, bacterial, algal bloom, oxygen depletion, and that's the problem that we like to solve, or at least reduce. And Leon is going to take over that a little bit.
I guess everyone here knows that these factors aren't really positive. So by limiting these, we can really make them more sustainable. So what is our solution? Our solution is Coastal Joe, an AI tool that helps you predict the fish farm outcomes, the data about fish. It combines satellite data, the IoT data, especially from Havro, sorry, that gets the real-time data to optimize the fish farming operations, and to also it's more a monitoring tool to also monitor the fish farms to get more information about the capacities of the fjords, how well they're gonna regenerate, how much fish can they cultivate in there, and when they're gonna get moved maybe in future, when can we return there? How's the regeneration of the fjords?
Where should they go?
Yeah, where should they go also? It's a prediction of where. What data are we gonna use? We're gonna use AI to interpret the data, obviously, and the database will be fed with data like the sea surface temperature, the dissolved oxygen temperature, salinity levels, or the chlorophyll A. And we're going to get this from Sentinel-1, 2, and 3, and the AI-based image analysis. Really chaotic dashboard, we know, but our customers, later on, my colleague will talk about it, is scientists. It's farmers that have the know-how. So
yeah, so our customers are, I would say, two. That would be the fish farmers themselves that would utilize the product for more efficiency. And this is also a PR thing. Fish farming is kind of, the image is not pretty good at the moment. I mean, there's been a lot of accidents due to overcrowding, due to bacterial diseases and so forth. And that would be, and we're hoping for a collaboration with the fish farmers because they have their own sensors, although might be from Havro as well. And then it would be the research centers, Havro, and the monitoring that they are already doing at these locations, because Copernicus, it can't go really deep into the fjords, but with tools from Havro and from the fish farms, hopefully we can combine them all together into one really good idea, and then generating the gaps between them with AI. our team is myself from corporate finance, sales, service, Leon, industrial engineering, and then Martin, business management, and Ivy, digital health. We are of course missing IT experts and marine biologists, but hopefully that's something that we can collaborate with Hafrannsóknastofan, Arnarlax, which had the accident a couple of years back, I think 23. And yeah, and together we can hopefully reduce this risk, which is, I mean, we're staying in Iceland. Fish is hugely important. And if the fish escapes, for example, with bacterial diseases, that could be a disaster for the ecosystem. And hopefully in the future, our idea would be extended. So there are some trends in the market that there will be a mobile version of the pen. So it would be hopefully easier to move them. And our system would also predict algae farming. So the combination of algae farming and fish farming is something that we think is a good idea because it does reduce a lot of the issues that the fish farming is putting into the ocean, putting into our ecosystem, oxygen depletion, for example. So our idea is also to map out where algae farming would be good to have at these areas.
So I think that's it for us.
Yeah,
thank you for your attention.
Any questions?
Yeah, if I may start, of course. I really like the presentation. I have some question about like if you said in the last step, for example, that you predict to move them, move the fish farms. How feasible is that from the perspective of, for example, health and like
The health of the fish.
no, not for the fish, more if there is like diseases kind of.
Yes.
That you cannot move it while maybe there's an undetected disease and then they're moving it around and the disease is going in other fjords.
Hopefully we're going to be monitoring, so we're going to alert them that it's, for example, the oxygen depletion is reaching a dangerous level, then hopefully they can react towards that.
Yeah, and maybe adapting the farming process. I don't think they're going to be years in the nets. Unfortunately, I don't know how long they will be in there, especially the salmon. So maybe adapting the time they spend, let's say 6 months. In 6 months, the fjord can have this capacity, and after these 6 months, the nets won't be used until the fjord has recovered.
And
so it's maybe a moving with the tiles, maybe, or take the fish, harvest them, and don't use the net for a year, or just put the net somewhere else.
Or if you could have algae inside the net, specific algae that would, let's say if oxygen is the problem, then that would increase the oxygen level. So a combination of the two, I think, might work, possibly. Less than 2 revenue streams as well, because you can do a lot with algae.
Very nice presentation, and like you said, there's lots of challenges in aquaculture, and selecting sites is important. I mean, right now the aquaculture companies, they do leave areas fallow and they move between sites to avoid impact. A year and a half by the time that fish are in water for like this. You talked about the kind of data you would work with. You were missing a little bit, maybe sea surface, like the currents. But also maybe the seabed health.
Yeah,
yes, and maybe I didn't mention
well.
that with Sentinel-2 we wanted to do the shallow water mapping to get this data. It's a long list of data, and I didn't want to overflow
and our
with
idea,
the data, but I can give you. It's like we got sea surface, this temperature, dissolved oxygen, salinity, chlorophyll, ocean currents, wave heights and wind speeds, weather forecast, then shallow water mapping, and radar imaging of the depth and the seafloor, and the seagrass cultivation and the sediment levels. That's the one we get from Copernicus. Then we get obviously from Havro the other data.
And I'm not sure if Havro has the sensors all the time, or if it's
fish
farmers. I think.
Like
I think it's a regulatory thing as well. So something that is they must have.
And so your business model would be kind of data as a service to the fish farms to
so
help site selection.
Predictive tool and
also monitoring of the farms itself.
Yeah. And hopefully it's something that they can use in combination if we have algae farming location as well. Predictive model for the algae farming where it's suitable.
Thank
you so much. Thank you.
Next up, we have the team from Sail Planner.
Hello, my name is Huldar. I did think that this was a little bit in Icelandic and a little bit in English, so my slides might be in 2 languages. My throat has been a little bit sore. Excuse me if I need to cough and stuff. But I will be presenting now Sail Planner, which is in short terms, it's basically like Google Maps for sailboats. So we make sail-powered ships. We give them the ability to find the fastest path in terms of time between 2 points. So we are speed. It's Google Maps for sailboats. The problem is that currently, if you want to plan a route, you need to have experience or extensive knowledge over the places. These are some options that will show up on Google if you search for ship route planning, and in all of them you can make a route that goes through land, no problem. They will not tell you anything. Or even here I put a route that was between 2 spots really close to each other in the ocean, and the result was no route found. Very strange stuff. This is also the competition. It's exactly the same. The solution is Sail Planner. A simple interface that tells you exactly which points you need to go to. You just specify a starting point and an end point, and it will generate the waypoints along the way for you. In this scenario, the wind is blowing in from the west, so you don't need to do any tacking. And you're sailing from Reykjavik to the westwards, and it's telling you estimated time of arrival, your current heading, speed, what your heading should be, and everything you need to know. Our team is me currently. I'm the hipster, if you say the hipster, hustler, hacker team scenario. But because somebody needs to hack this together, I'm also the hacker. My background is in mechanical engineering. I have done some programming, and I'm sure I can figure out how to make this happen. But I'd really appreciate a hustler and a hacker into the team, so we can sell this and actually program it properly and maybe fast. It takes me 2 weeks to do something my friend can do in 20 minutes. He's a programmer. The market, in the US only, there's 82,500 sailboats 2 years ago registered. And then we have increased usage of wind-assisted ship propulsion, or WASP system, for cargo ships, like the Flatner rotors and kites, which means that cargo ships are increasingly relying on wind, which increases the need for proper route planning with optimization for time. Why now? The shipping companies are adding this WASP, the wind-assisted ship propulsions, to them, and we have this Fuel EU maritime regulations coming, which impacts all the harbors in the EU, the European Economic Region actually, so also here. I know about these 2 companies. Wallenius Marine is the one on the top. They are making this Ocean Bird boat, which is mostly sail-powered, and Toft is completely sail-powered. So we could service them also. Our unfair advantage is how simple we are. You don't need an expert to make a proper route where they need to manually put in all the points. You just put the end point and the start point, and we figure out the rest. What's the plan? First, we're going to talk to the market, because I didn't do that this weekend. We're going to figure out exactly what they need so that we can make a proper solution for them and not just what we think is a good solution. Then we're going to make a proof of concept where I talk to the team at Lebaut, which for those of you that don't know, I'm also in the team at Lebaut, so really easy to talk to them. And they will allow us to try out our minimum viable product on their boat. Then we need financial sustainability, where we have to sell this product to the users. And this is something that I would appreciate input from somebody who knows things about finance, service as a subscription, or one-time buy, or ad revenue, I don't know, options. And then comes scaling, where we actually go and sell it to everyone. Yeah, so this is what we need: people, money, and Copernicus with weather forecasts, wave information, and wind information, among perhaps other things if you have ideas. Questions?
Great. Yeah, great presentation. But yeah, why only sailboats?
Why sailboats?
Yeah.
Because people don't need to worry about it so much when it comes to boats that are propelled by propellers that have fossil fuels, and Havering Marine already covers those. So we don't need to deal with it. That means we are in different sectors, kind of. Though I could have put Havering Marine as a competitor, probably should have, because they might just make a solution for that. But sailboats is what I'm very interested in. So this solution doesn't exist for them.
Would this just be in your phone, or?
I'm actually thinking about it in 3 ways. One is for the hobbyist who has a sailboat and is kind of just going out and about for fun, but they are not very stressed out for time. So they don't need the optimization in terms of time, but maybe they are not wanting to spend a lot of time putting in all the waypoints. The next person is the people that are working in shipping, like Toft and Wallenius Marine, where they need to show up with some cargo to a specific location in time. Those are humans that could be using it. And the third group is people or companies that have autonomous sailboats, like Labaut is planning to do a little bit, and Sail Drone in the US has a couple of hundred sailing drones that are powered by sails. And I think there are some other companies also working on that. So there's a huge opportunity to do something like this.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah, I thought it was really interesting, really nice idea. What was what would be because particularly for sailing and for wind, the conditions are going to change very rapidly. Would it be something that's live updating?
Yes. So how I would envision myself using it is that it would work like Google Maps. You have an app that is on board where you are using it, and the app or like the program that is on the boat is figuring out things however fast it needs to.
And the only thing I was going to say, if you can link that to the personal safety of the sailors, and that would be really interesting from insurance and where they are. Probably.
That's great.
Super nice.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Next up is you guys, I think.
Okay.
Is that right?
How was I for time?
You were perfect almost.
Excellent.
Quick.
Perfect one with us. Can see. That's good. You didn't seem stressed. I was.
Just testing if everything works first, and then we'll start our presentation. So, get rid of the technical difficulties in the beginning. It's not our presentation. There we go. So, hi guys, I'm Birgir. I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about myself. When I was young, I worked at a fish filleting company. They bought fish from abroad, and I noticed that their fish was pristine, like sushi grade. Amazing. You could almost just plopping in your mouth. But the fish that was from Iceland, it had lumps, sores, bumps, and parasites. And that's sparked an idea for me. And I would like Albert to talk a little bit about our problems.
Okay, so one of the current problems that we are facing in the world is that the sustainability of wild-caught fish is rapidly declining, both due to overfishing and climate change, and has therefore given rise to the aquaculture farms that we have been talking so much about. But finding spots and determining like where optimal places for them are is not trivial. So, and sifting through all of the abundance of data is hard. And that's where we come in with our live demo, so with our project.
So let's hope that the live demo guys are with us.
Okay, so on the left here, you can see all the variables that you can choose for if you want to manage like optimal conditions for a type of farm or something, like the oxygen, temperature, salinity, and pH values. And for example, if you wanted to choose like conditions for salmon, you can see here so the conditions around Iceland and Europe that would be kind of good based on these limited variables that we have now. That would be good for salmon. And yeah, you could add like lots of other variables for this in the future that would kind of improve, not just for fishing farms, but for other, like maybe algae farms or something like that. Yeah, that was a good one. Talking about the data we used for this.
Yes, so as you could pretty easily see on the left side of the screen in our live demo, we used the oxygen, the temperature, and salinity, and the pH level of the water. But our model can extend to many more parameters, but we only choose these sets because these are the most important ones when it comes to aquaculture. So we used data from the Copernicus Marine Service and Wikio, but also data from Havro, which is the closing zones that you can see around the fjords. So Birgit is going to talk about the business case of our solution.
Yeah, so as for now, 50% of all fish sold in the world comes from aquafarms. It's a fast-growing business, actually the fast-growing global production center in the world. And it's also the most eco-effective for protein production. And if we take just the salmon, for instance, 1.2 kilos of feed make 1 kilo of salmon, where you look at the pig, you need 40 kilos of feed to produce just 1 kilo of pork. So this is our team.
Yes, we're missing Thomas. He was with us remotely. But yes, we are a team mostly of computer scientists, so we would really appreciate some business or economical guy in our team, or girl. And of course we have some future works, like including machine learning or AI into our model to be able to predict the future, adding more parameters as I came in later or earlier. But we also want you to try out the demo yourself. So if you want, you can scan the QR code. It's not mobile optimized, but it's on Hugging Face, and you can try it out on your laptop as well.
Please do. So, do you have any questions?
So if I understand correctly, and very impressive if you built that together in the weekend, super nice. Is the aim to help also with site selection
Yes.
of aquaculture farms. Do I
Yes,
understand?
we want to be the first to give your company or let your company know where the optimal place for an aquaculture farm would be. So you could acquire the first.
Based on the fish species.
Yes. Yeah. Or whatever data you want to put in the machine.
And like find maybe a percentage of, like if you want it during the summer, like how much of the time is it in optimal condition also. So like 80% of the time it is in optimal condition for a salmon farm or something.
Interesting. So the example that you showed is interesting that the areas it highlighted are not where salmon farming is taking place in Iceland.
Yes, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have an explanation?
We
to
don't
that?
really have an explanation because we're not marine experts.
Yeah.
But this is data collected from the internet.
Interesting.
But yet to be verified.
Yeah.
But also.
I think the idea is nice.
Yes.
It's nice presentation.
Great presentation. So you're definitely focusing more on out on the sea farming.
Yeah.
With weather data, because you have all of these oceanographic data. Are you going to take in that because of the conditions for the sites?
So what we started with was just this simple product to put in as few parameters as possible. Of course, we have all the Copernicus data at our disposal, so we could use just basically everything as we please. As you're seeing, we built this in 2 days. Could add a lot to us.
Yeah, great work, by the way.
Yeah.
What do we got?
So like regarding also the fjord data, Copernicus didn't really have much data for like inside the fjords, so we're kind of limited by that. But of course we would also be able to talk to the like fishery companies to get that data about the conditions there. So
Yeah, maybe one last question. Really well done and nice use of the data and digging deeper into that. I missed the name.
Yeah.
What's your name of the team?
We never made a name. We were discussing Blue Insight.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The story you told at the beginning was beautiful. It was really nice. It brought everyone in. The thing is, I was expecting it to then be about fish quality. That was the only thing.
Yeah.
But I thought it was a really lovely
Of
mechanism.
course, it touches on fish quality because if you have the fish in prime optimal place, it's gonna have better quality.
Okay, just make that link next.
relate that
Yeah,
to
it was very nice because I was like, oh, a story.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all for our groups.
No, also and
Line?
Yeah. Oh, no, better be there.
For our on-site groups, yes.
Elsa, are you ready to go ahead now? Yes, you can, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Lovely. Good luck.
Thank you.
Can we hear her through your computer?
So, hi everyone.
Can I
I am Elsa.
One second, Elsa. We're just getting our sound up and you on the big screen because at the moment you're just on my laptop.
Yeah, okay.
You can go ahead, Elsa.
Have you got the Teams open on your...
Go ahead? Or?
Lovely, you can go ahead now. Can we see you and hear you?
Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah, so let's hope the best. I've got one really seeking attention here, so yeah. Anyway, I'm going to propose a solution for oil and ghost net detection in the Arctic. So, first of all, oil spills are not always reported or detected, so we need to find a way to detect the oil that we don't know that is spilling. And second of all, why the Arctic? The oil affects wildlife there, like everywhere else, but in sometimes harsh conditions of the Arctic, it could be hard to detect and clean. On top of that, the cold slows down the decay, so it could last years or generations even, and get trapped under the sea ice, making it impossible to remove. So that's why it is extremely important to detect the oil early and start the cleaning process. Ghost nets are another ocean polluter, and that are nets that for some reason have been lost or abandoned in the ocean. These can also have catastrophic effects on wildlife, like seen in this image here. So, solution for that. A very good tool for this is the synthetic aperture radar satellites. We have actually a very good coverage from SAR satellites for the Arctic, and the biggest pro for using these are that they deliver data in any weather conditions, independent of sunlight. So polar night or cloudy conditions is not a limiting factor here. And here's an example of the use of SAR images. Here's an oil spill in Trinidad and Tobago in February last year. And we see an image from the 2nd of February before the ship stranded here in the south of this island. And then a week later, and we can clearly see that the drop in backscatter indicates the oil spill drift to the west here. However, there are limitations because new sea ice and algae blooms also cause these drop in backscatter in SAR images. And actually, ghost nets and other big plastic polluters can also do that, but in our case, that's not an issue. So, what I propose is that after detecting those dark areas in SAR images using thresholds on the backscatter, I also use sea surface temperature data and optical images to further, and this decision tree to further eliminate sea ice and algae blooms. Only when that has been ruled out, the authorities are alerted and we can start tracking the potential oil or ghost nets. After this alert, we can further distinguish between ghost nets and oil by using altimetry data and wave data. And here's just a little example of how we can use sea surface velocity to track possible pollution and the sea surface temperature here behind. The impact and uniqueness, we're proposing a detection of oil spill and ghost nets that otherwise could go undetected, and alert system and drift monitoring for cleaning operations aid. There are services that use SAR images to detect possible oil spills, for example, the Clean Sea Net, but their method is based on a more binary classification and relies more on manual interpretation. So most of the red flags they send or in the report are actually lookalikes. In our case, natural phenomena like ice and algae bloom have already been ruled out before alerting authorities about possible oil spills. So while being less operationally mature, the automation of this could make this method valuable if developed further. And thank you very much. Are there any questions?
Very nice.
Very nice.
Let's do a lovely. That was very nice, Elsa, and I think it's a really interesting problem that you are addressing. I'm interested with I can understand very well how you would track oil and who might pay for that and how that would work. But the ghost nets, is that something that companies do report, or do you have a feeling for who might pay for that? The satellite monitoring and the work that your company would be putting into locating them?
It's also just kind of a side product of that, if I could say so, and a good side product. But yeah, it's not maybe very profitable. But of course, NGOs and authorities would like to clean those, and just as oil spills, because it's actually a really big issue. Of course, the plastic pollution in the ocean and net pollution, and then I can imagine that I don't know. I've never been fishing, but it's not nice to get some trash like that in your in your nets when you're for fisheries.
Very nice presentation, I thought as well.
Really nice presentation, Elsa. There's no questions for me.
I might have a question. So, hi Elsa.
Hi.
A really nice use of the data. I like that. And I guess you have seen about Copernicus security, right? Because from what I know, it's for example the Landhelgisgæslan in Iceland. They get monitoring directly, in notifications. So you mentioned that, and I was wondering how would you, when you make this saying there is an alert, and they would get a false alarm or whatever, you would check this with other imagery and stuff. If there is cloud, you cannot use that imagery. How much delay would you expect from your system compared to a system that maybe sends a false alarm?
Yeah, thank you for that. That's a really good question. That exactly, it always depends on the optical imagery, but also the thermal, like the sea surface temperature data could actually be maybe with less delay than a good optical image. Yeah, I'm actually not sure how to answer that, because yeah, of course there is a delay because of the processing and because of waiting for the other data to detect it, but still I read that in a report from Landhelgisgæslan, I think that 2022 there were, I think, 67 of 68 reports or something were false alarms.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it could be at least good addition, or yeah, with more development, maybe even, I don't know, work better, or at least more with less, how to say, manual interpretation.
Or false alarm, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That's all from me.
Can I ask also? Or
We're a bit short.
Yeah,
we're a bit over time.
Short in time, maybe.
Do it an email, maybe.
Thank you very much, Elsa.
Can I get her email then?
Okay.
So yeah, thank you so much for the presentation. That concludes the presentation part. Now the judges will convene together to decide on a winner. And as soon as they are ready, we will present who the winner is. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bara gera þetta hér eða erum við að fara?
Já, núna.